welcome to, as I see, you can see the topic there is, are you financially fit? So obviously I'll be using this analogy right through the presentation, obviously, of a gym and exercise and getting fit and things like that. And I think that's the best way all of us can relate to it. But just to kick off, there's a saying that goes like this, that health is the new wealth. Obviously, we've seen the last 2 years with COVID, how important our health would be, and how important it is to protect ourselves. So while being able to contemplate the Cape Epic in your 50s, or to keep up with the youth at your local gym are certainly worthy goals, paying attention to the health of your finances should be your top priority for you. Okay, so on the topic of the gym, did you hear the joke about the fitness trainer asking Mr. Jones, what kind of squat are you accustomed to doing? And Mr. Jones replies back, diddly. So in other words, diddly squat. If you don't understand what that means, is in other words, nothing. So I think that is the challenge for a lot of people, is a situation for many people and their financial fitness, doing diddly squat. Okay, so just on a lighter note, but just another example. I was talking to one of our clients during the week, and we're having a discussion about investments in general and finances and that. And he says, what I know about finances is dangerous. And I thought about it and I thought, wow, that's interesting. What I know about finances is dangerous. So my question is why? Why is it dangerous? You know, you need to change that. You need to be open to learning. So you'll hear, I'm going to use two words a lot through this presentation also. I want you to have more awareness. Those of you who are new to, call it investments and finances, I want you to have that awareness where you are now and where you want to be. So that word awareness, that's number one. And number two, the other word I want you to, other term I want you to be aware of, or be more to take note of, is be proactive about your financial situation. Okay, so a general definition of financial fitness is to have the money you need when you need it. Okay, in other words, the way I look at it is ultimately be in a situation what I call freedom. Okay, so it gives you choices. Okay, so going deeper, this would also obviously include living within your means. We've spoken about before this in previous webinars. I'm amazed how many people live on have a champagne lifestyle on a beer income. So that's what I mean by living within your means. So not being in debt, having savings for your retirement, etc. So those are just some of the things we'll be touching on today. But also furthermore, we're going to things like estate planning and having a proper tax strategy. And also when I think also important is, those of you who get to the stage where you start using financial advisors, when you have a few different financial advisors all working their plans together towards a common goal, your goals. Okay, so those of you that don't know me, my name is Sean van den Berg. I'm an investment specialist here at PSG Wealth. My objective today is to discuss ways where you can manage your money in order to meet your current and long-term needs, number one. And number two, it's also, you know, as with any type of training, and as I say, I can use that analogy of getting physically fit, be it gym or exercise, becoming, you know, with any type of training, becoming financially fit requires learning the principles and best practices that other people have used to achieve their financial objectives. Okay, so there's no dark secrets or hidden secrets. It's all out there in plain sight, but it's, again, being aware of it and being proactive and applying it. Okay, so here's my little quick agenda for today. What does it mean by being physically fit, or financially fit rather? And as I said, we're going to talk about it going right through the webinar using that analogy. 20 ways to get financially fit. You'll find that I'm going to repeat some of this stuff, very basic principles. Repeated in previous webinars, and I'm going to repeat them here, but they don't change. You know, these principles are all the same. And then I want to spend some time on that 5 measures of financial fitness. That is, I think, we will benefit a lot from this webinar. So again, the idea here is that we're going to talk about physical exercise. It's just easier for us to relate to. I'm going through a personal experience myself. I'm on a weight management program where I want to lose weight to get to my ideal weight, my ideal BMI, body mass index. But it's all about it. There's two sides always. They say it's an eating plan and an exercise plan. That's how easy it is. They say it's common sense, but the thing is, with common sense, it's not so common. Okay, so also, with this whole analogy now with the eating plan and exercise, I believe also it's moderation. There are days where I have what I call cheat days. I do feel like a snack. I love my crisps. I love my knickknacks. I also once in a while crave a bar one chocolate where I crave sugar. So, I'm aware of those cheat days, but I'm also aware that yes, I'll have to work harder in the gym the next day. But it's also, I'm thinking long term. So it's a way of life. So, you want to be so strict that you don't enjoy life. Okay. So again, is that awareness where I'm now and where I want to be? So yes, I have to work harder and ultimately just be in control of that. So, we talk about eat less and exercise more. So when we talk about eat less, I can say it's the input, it's your savings and your investments, and your the exercise more is the output, and that's where the growth opportunities will come in, things like that. So it's also what's important to realize when we talk about an eating plan and an exercise program is that proportion. They talk about a proportion of 80-20. 80% is your eating plan and 20% is our exercise plan. A lot of us do it the other way around. 20% is our exercise and 20% is what we put into our body. But it's what we're putting into our body. So again, with that analogy now regarding financial fitness, I think when we talk about eating plan, it's just focusing your knowledge and learning more about asset allocation and risk management and the quality of the investments you're in. And obviously also things like, we're talking about the exercise program. This is where you're actually physically doing things like the creating a watch list of potential shares that you might be interested in on your share trading account, but also switching between funds. And when I talk about growth, a lot of us want to chase growth all the time. We want to chase last year's winners, and that's not how you do it. So that's just to give you a quick overview. But as a quick introduction, I want to talk about the problems. So this is, I think, the top 10 problems with most people. And the most, I want to say problems, are the mistakes people make. And as I say, it's common sense, basics, excessive and privileged spending. I'm amazed how people say, no, I haven't got the money. And I realize that most people, or a lot of South Africans, are battling just to survive and put food on the table and things like that. So yes, I'm aware of that. But also there's ways and means to cut back and you start saving a little bit. So ultimately, instead of working hard for your money starts working hard for you. So, I was looking at this whole scenario about this excessive and frivolous spending. Now, great fortunes, as I say, are often lost R1 at a time. It may not seem like a big deal when you pick up a 42 Rand latte from Starbucks on a daily basis on the way to work, but you take that 42 Rand a day times 5, that's 840 Rand. Sorry, 210 Rand a week times 4, it's 840 Rand a month. Multiply that by 12, we're talking about 10,080 Rand per year. So it does add up. And I'm not saying you must skimp on your favorite latte, but just be aware of those opportunities where the money is sliding through. You also you look at people eating out on a weekly basis, spending 500 Rand a meal. I'm using just the basics here. 500 Rand a week, 2,000 Rand a month. You get to 24,000 Rand a year. Now that can be your credit card payments switched off, or going towards your car payments and things like that. So again, just being aware of that frivolous and unnecessary spending. Living on borrowed money, and this is where we talk about credit cards and things like that. And credit cards is, again, living a champagne lifestyle on a BA income. So be aware of those kind of things. Also understand that a lot of us only pay the minimum or required on that credit card. So that what's outstanding, that interest works against you. We're talking about compounding. We're talking about investing, but on a credit card, we also talk about compounding. It works against you. buying a new car. Why do you have to buy a new car? It's a lot of people can't buy a new car cash, and that tells you one thing. So they can't afford it cash, so they pay it off. And again, it's just that interest comes into it. Spending on that new house, spending on too much on, you don't have to buy a big mansion. Beware also, obviously, the bigger your property, more rates and taxes and all those other little things that come in. So again, as I say, the simple basics here, this is common sense. I'm going through this very quickly. Use your home as a piggy bank. A lot of people want to dip into that the equity. Now, when you first buy the property, the banks ask you for 10% deposit, but 90% belongs to the banks. You might get to the stage where 50% now you've paid off and you've got 50% equity. You're very tempted to dip into it because your interest rate is much lower on that. But just be careful. A lot of people dip into it and spend the money without the idea of ever paying it back. And that's where the danger comes in. And then living from paycheck to paycheck. Here in South Africa, I was doing when I was doing my survey, they said the South African gross savings rate is 13.3%. I was quite amazed when I read that. And that was up to June 2022. So the challenge comes in when if you haven't got enough money saved up, and we discussed this in past webinars, that emergency fund between 3 and 6 months expenditure, you suddenly be retrenched, you haven't got money in the bank, and this is where the problems are. People go back to spending money on the credit card, and that's where they get into worse trouble. Okay. So not investing for retirement. A lot of people think, I'm young, I can leave it off for later. The earlier you start, the better. Even if you start 500 Rand a month, we'll touch on this again a bit later. And paying off your debt with savings. People say, I'll take my money out of my home loan, let me pay off a credit card. Yes, I'm paying, I'm borrowing, my home loan is, call it 10%, and my credit card is 24%. That's great. But once that credit card is paid off, what you were paying on your credit card, put it back into your home loan. Okay, so just be aware of those kind of things, and not having a plan. As I say, this is the main gist today: is to be proactive, have a plan. We talk about budgets and things like that. I prefer to use the word income and expenditure statement, but the main thing is just having a plan. When your finances are in control, you're in control of your finances. I have what I call a SWAN. It's an acronym, SWAN, sleep well at night, instead of worrying about how am I going to meet the bills. So it all starts by having a plan, and start slowly. So the bottom line is just, the dangers of overspending, all those kind of things, and monitoring those big expenses is important. So what I mean by being financially fit? What is the solution? So yes, obviously you'll get some of the ideas already. I've touched on it already. Where life isn't always just simple and straightforward when it involves many moving parts of your finances. So there's quite a few things involved. I use the simple analogy: eat less, exercise more, but there's more to it. There's things like having a good night's sleep, having enough rest, drinking enough water. All those kind of things also gets added into the equation. So fortunately, no matter where you are in your financial planning journey, taking time to reflect, as I say, we are now, will help you decide what action to take. Okay, that's what's important, and that's where we start taking control. And you put yourself in the best situation to achieve your financial success. So but with any runner, I'm going to use an analogy now of a marathon runner. With any runner, doesn't just wake up one day and decide, okay, I'm going to start running I want to run a marathon tomorrow. Financial fitness is exactly the same thing. You don't do it overnight. It's a process. So you start with a goal in mind, and you take small, measurable steps on a daily basis. And the idea is to be consistent. So that's how you get your best results possible. So yes, knowledge is much what powers success. When you're aware, that word again, of your income and expenses, you can establish your excess or your debt. And we'll talk about more of these just now. But more importantly, what's your next steps? What must I do next? So, what's the best investment vehicle for you to achieve your goals? Is having a tax-efficient vehicle important? having flexibility, having access to your funds. Talking about switching funds and having liquidity and access to your funds is important. Are there growth opportunities? Are there risk management? How do I manage the risk? All those kind of things are important. So what does it mean by being financially fit? And yes, I'm just touching on the stuff I've done before, just the opposite of those mistakes. Avoid overspending, obviously. Grow your savings for emergency. Have an emergency fund. Now, these are just best financial practices. They're like a checklist you can use on your financial service, on your financial fitness journey as such. But ultimately, I look at it this way. The younger you are, the more robust and hard workout you can do. But when it comes to retirement, I look at it this way. And the picture I want to point out is the old people, the older generation, are more into the yoga. I'm going to use yoga as an analogy. So the idea of yoga now, obviously, is more stretching and more flexibility and more balance. But it's all about improving your breathing. So the objective here is to enhance your strength, okay, and to boost your mental mood, relax your mind. But basically, I look at it this way. You're looking at yoga. Those old people are enjoying life. They have the time to do that kind of things, and that's what retirement should be doing. Your retirement golden years should be is having that enjoyment. Okay, enjoying your life. So retirement should not be like running a marathon. It's like the Comrades Marathon, where it's heavy on your joints and your muscles. Very few people in the old age will be running Comrades. When I say old age, I'm talking about the really old veterans. Okay. So again, I'm using an analogy. So what are the benefits of being financially fit? So once you reviewed your finances and up to date what are your amounts, you can easily make decisions that obviously impact how quickly you reach your financial goals. This means you're choosing where you can cut back to save more, as I say, gives you those choices, or evaluating excess funds you've got and where you should invest it, where you want to place it. That's number one. And number two, also just as you become increasingly financially fit, you have the information you need to properly plan, plan out the retirement strategy. You have a few years in advance to ensure a smooth transition. So that smooth transition either might be an early retirement. Obviously, the retirement annuity, the earliest you can do, or earliest you can take retirement is age 55, or passing down your legacy. You've created this wealth now. Now, obviously, you want to protect that wealth and you want to teach the next generation about it. Again, we have spoken about this in previous webinars, as I say, repetition, and I'm just reinforcing some of the ideas here. Another big advantage is that in addition, when you're financially fit, you can build a good credit. You can get lower interest rates on your car and home payments and things like that because of your credit rating and things like that. So yes, you also have the additional wealth. You have this flexibility where you can give more. To your charitable organizations, as I say, you have more choice. And then also lastly, when you're financially fit, you get a chance to enjoy life. Use that example of that yoga now. Enjoy life the way you choose to do it. You might want to be more family trips, investing in more hobbies. My hobby one day is I want to go sail around the world. But basically is that, the key is being proactive rather than waiting for things to happen. Okay, so 20 ways to get financially fit. Again, this is some of the stuff I have touched on already, reinforcing it. So understand your income, your income and expenditure. Again, your budget. We're talking about just now, we're having the midterm budget speech now at 2 o'clock. So just plan your budget. Be in control. A lot of people they hope, and I always say hope is not a strategy. I hope you're going to make ends meet. No, you need to have a strategy, a plan in place. Okay, so they always say, ignorance is bliss. No, ignorance is not bliss. This is where you lose money, you miss opportunities, you make mistakes. Okay, again, as I say, it might be common sense and basic principles, but the idea is to take some of these ideas and work on them. Save regularly. So that's the idea, is building that habit of consistency. prioritize your spending. And again, I refer to, and by the way, by the end of this, at the end of this webinar, I'll links to the previous webinars. So prioritize spending. I have spoken about the 6 money jars before. So that's what I mean by prioritize your spending. So have set aside money for fun and movies and play. Set money aside for education. When I say education, this is further education where you're learning more about financial literacy and financial fitness. Okay. And then think about your pension. So when I think about your pension, is your retirement. The earlier you start, the better. So very, very important. So you can start a little 500 Rand a month, but you can put up to 27.5%, up to 350,000 Rand a year away towards your retirement annuity, which is a tax deductible. Your contributions are tax deductible. That's a tax efficient vehicle. Okay. So beware of those kind of things. Start early. That's one of your number of priorities. Make the most of your bank. So, for example, I use Capitec, and I know the app is very nice regarding budgeting. You can categorize all your spending, so you can see where's your money going. Okay, then also important there is keep up inflation. I believe that you must beat inflation. So the idea here is that, let's say, for example, you have 10,000 Rand in the savings account, and that's 10,000 Rand is earning you 7%, earning you 5%. But if inflation is running at 7.5%, your investment, yes, you're getting your 5%, but everything else is costing you 2.5% more. In other words, you're losing your buying power if you're not keeping up with inflation, or at least beating inflation. So in other words, you're going backwards. So what's important, some of you might have heard this before, is the rule of 72. So whatever you think your growth rate is, divide 72 by your growth rate. Let's say, for example, you're getting 5% growth. So this will tell you how long it will take how long it will take you in years for your money to double. So 72 divided by 5, it's going to take 14.4 years for your investment to double. Okay. So if you've got 10,000 Rand in the bank earning 5%, it's going to take you 14.5 years or 14.4 years to double. The inverse of that, or another way of looking at it, is take the inflation rate. Take 72 divided by the inflation rate, and that'll tell you how much your money will take to halve. Okay, so 72 divided by 7.5, it's going to take 9.6 years for your investment to halve. So you got R1 million right now in your retirement annuity. Just understand that in 9.6 years, that R1 million today will only be worth $500,000 in 9.6 years. Okay, so be aware of that little rule of thumb, that rule of 72. Okay, so you need to go for higher growth all the time, beating inflation at least. And again, use things like the right tools. Now, we have things on our website called Funds A to Z, Funds A to Z. It's a tool to help you find the best performing unit trust right now, but also it gives you opportunity to compare the 5 different funds. So bottom line, you're making more informed decisions. So, you can also click on the fund fact list, understand what you're investing into. Those of you that are into a share trading account, into shares, into more direct portfolio, having a watch list of potential winners. You can also add a column for PE ratios and dividend yields. So again, you can sift and find out what is the best, or the higher possibility or higher probability of finding those winners for you. Use your charts to get your timing right. Use the research tools research reports that our analysts put out. They're very, very comprehensive. These are just ways of making you more proactive. Okay, and then also importantly, ask questions. Those of you that are direct clients with PSG, myself and my colleague Aubrey, Michelle, we are the investment specialists. We're there to help you answer your questions regarding your portfolios and that. We can't give you specific investment advice. We can't tell you what funds to buy, what funds to sell, etc. But you're welcome to bounce ideas off us. Okay, so Sean, I've looked at this company. What do you think? I'm going to bounce it right back to you like a porcupine. Okay. And another thing, check your portfolio regularly. Don't have to look at it every 5 minutes. If you've got a unit trust portfolio, think long term. Maybe look at it once a week, once a month. But watch it. Keep eyes on it. And if you're seeing that after 6 months, my funds is losing money, now we need to start looking at, are the other potential winners? Why is the fund going down? And then we start looking at at switching. I'm amazed how people wake up after 4 years or 5 years and say, hey, I've lost money. Why? You understand that after 6 months, you must be doing something about it. Okay. And that comes to the next one, review and adapt. Always make sure that you on track with your financial goals. Okay. Okay, guys, and this is what I want to spend time on. This is 5 measures of success, of financial fitness. So the idea here, these are just, call it numbers, and these are numbers that tell you about the most about your finances. And I always say, there's an old saying that numbers do not lie. So this is the gist of this slide here. So when you're working at financially and putting your money into habits, putting these money matters into habits, that's what's important. Okay, so taking or creating good money habits, that's what I'm saying, is putting into practice. It's also important to understand how well are you doing. So you need a measuring stick. So this is what I'm talking about here. So having a high salary or lots of income, and you're spending every rand, doesn't tell you much about your financial fitness. Okay, so first of all, we talk about a debt to equity, debt to income ratio, or DTI, and this is an important one in the sense that it's a leading indicator of your financial health. Is how much debt you pay off each month versus how much money you bring home in your paycheck. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. So the easiest way to improve your debt to income ratio is to take steps to pay off your credit card as fast as possible. Yeah, and we're talking more about in the credit card ratio, the point below. But also downsizing, as I say, you don't have to have a big mansion, you don't have to have a big car. Downsizing on or selling some of the assets like cars and properties that you use like once in a while, like a holiday home. These are ways to improve his debt to income ratio. So, it's one of the metrics that the lenders use to check whether when you apply for a loan or a line of credit. So the rule of thumb is to make sure that your debt is manageable. Okay, so we talk about as long as the ideal situation, as long as your debt is below 30% and under, is even better. Okay, your credit card debt, ideally it should be less than 10%. So if you talk about that whole debt income ratio, and that debt income ratio might include your home loan. Yeah, and if your whole debt income ratio is 25%, you don't have credit card debt, then we say that's great. Okay, and then what's important is this personal savings rate. And I said just now, they say the gross savings rate in South Africa is 13%. I found it very hard to believe that. But the main idea here, and we have spoken about this before, when you get that income coming in, the best thing to do is to pay yourself first. Warren Buffett always says, it's no use investing what you got left. Invest what you got first. Okay, so between 5 and 10%, the more you have, the better. Okay, so if your monthly income is 40,000 rand and you save 10,000 rand of that, that is 25% savings rate. That's very, very good. You can calculate that. You can usually be using what they call your gross or net income. But if you're using your gross income, it might be simpler, especially when it comes to things like pre-tax deductions, like retirement annuity, those kind of things. So be careful, be aware what ratio you're using there. So the common, as I say, the common recommendation is to save between 5 to 10%. I suggest more than that. In that previous webinar, I spoke about 6 money jars. We talk about 10% towards savings. We talk about long-term savings and 10% to what we call the financial freedom account. So they combine the two together. I say that is your 20%. Okay. So those are just the top 3 ratios, and we talk about the emergency fund. We have highlighted this before. This is, as the word would imply, savings into your set aside specifically for emergency fund between 3 and 6 months expenses. So obviously this is to meet unexpected expenses like car repairs or the emergency trip to the dentist. Okay, so this is something that you set aside, and that comes back to what I just said now, that 10% long-term savings. Your first goal is to save up that 3 to 6 months income or expenditure. And then we start looking at other investment goals. Okay. And then the last one there, your net worth. And I find this is very important. Your net worth, as I would say, as it would imply, it's a difference between what you own and what you owe. So it's positive. Positive net worth, means financial stability. Okay, that's what's important. So again, yeah, it means that even if you run into trouble and you drain your emergency fund completely, you can still stay ahead because of your assets. That's what I mean by this. So if you've done everything else for your finances on the list, and then you look at building your wealth. So, for example, you have a 200,000 rand in investment accounts. You have 500,000 rand in your retirement fund. You have a 2 million rand worth house. Your 2 million rand house. So your assets is 2.7 million. Okay, but on the other side, you owe 300,000 in loans. You owe 1.5 million on your home loan. So your net worth in this situation would be 900,000. I suggest you do this little exercise maybe on a quarterly basis, and obviously it will slowly increase. You know, you do that 4 times a year, you'll see that hopefully it's growing. So as long as it's positive, number one, and number two, it's improving. Okay. So what's also improving, or what's important, is, you know, your network goes up, it's a good sign. When it goes down, it's cause for concern. But what's important also, there's a bit of a blind spot, because it doesn't tell you the type of assets that you're having. Okay, so if you're 50 years old and your net worth is 1 million, you might think you're doing well. But as I say, if you include it's a 800,000 rand house and you got a 100,000 rand car, it'll be very deceptive, because 10% of your net worth is in a car. The way I look at it is depreciating liability. So you got some problems there. You need to work on it. So bring all these numbers together, these 5 different measures. It gives you an accurate idea. So combining these metrics together. So not one single number, a whole lot of them together will help you on this path to financial fitness. Okay. So guys, I'm running out of time here, but very quickly, the idea here, as I say, money comes in, money goes out. And for many people, that is as deep as their financial understanding goes. Okay. But ignoring your finances and leaving it to chance, hopefully after you've been on this webinar, I just hope that you understand that you know, you need some numbers. You need to do some number crunching. You need to be more aware and more proactive of your financial situation. Okay, so think of your long-term, your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. You know, we're talking about financial goals. You want to go, you know, the short-term would be your emergency fund. Medium-term, you might be a savings. But these different investment vehicles that we use, we have what we call a voluntary investment plan, underlying investments into unit trusts. But there's a nice savings tool for you. Okay, and you can have different investment, voluntary investment plans for different goals. Understand what's an asset and what's a liability. Many years ago, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And his definition of an asset was what made a big impact on me. He says, an asset puts money in your pocket. Okay, and that's why I look at it. Money puts money in your pocket. Now, liability obviously takes money out of your pocket. So be aware of what is the asset and liabilities. I'm amazed how many people think that their home that they live in is an asset, because it's not. You're not putting money in your pocket. It's actually taking money out of your pocket. Okay, and then use tax-efficient vehicles. So first of all, if you're working for a company, get involved with the company's provident and pension fund. Okay, if you're self-employed or you want to add or complement your existing retirement, look at the retirement annuity. What's nice about a retirement annuity, you got that flexibility where you choose underlying investments. To complement that retirement annuity, look at things like a tax-free investment plan. So yes, it hasn't got the same, it's got the tax-efficient vehicle in the sense that all growth in a tax-free plan, it will be free. Any capital gains, interest, all that kind of stuff will be free, but your contributions are not tax deductible. So that's a balance between the two of them, but it complements the retirement annuity. You can put 36,000 Rand a year into your tax-free with a maximum of 500,000. So you divide that 36 divided into 500,000, roughly about, I think it's about 13 years. So the idea is to max out this as fast as you can. So when it comes to retirement, you take out your tax-free first before touching your retirement annuity and moving it retirement annuity into a living annuity. Okay. And then another a vehicle that you might consider, those of you that have a higher marginal tax rate, is the endowment. Anybody has a more of a tax rate higher than 30%? Endowment is a great savings tool in the sense that any growth in that can only be taxed maximum 30%. But it's a nice tool also because now you can nominate beneficiaries. With the RA and endowment, you can nominate beneficiaries. So it goes on when if you had a die, gets passed on, so it doesn't form part of your estate. Your beneficiaries get it. So those are some of the tools you can use. And your second point there, very important, nominate beneficiaries to your retirement annuity, nominate beneficiaries to your endowment. Okay, it just makes life so much easier for a lot of people. And then lastly, you can see there, make sure your investments and goals align up. And that's where the financial advisor comes in. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, previous webinars, I suggest click on these little links to take you through to our webinar. You can see where it is. It's on our YouTube channel. You'll find all these past webinars, and it's just basically repeating what I've said before. I mentioned earlier about retirement. One thing I find very useful is the retirement calculator on our website. How much do you need to save up by a certain time? How much do you need on a monthly basis? So these are just some of the things you can use. Okay, so guys, I'm running out of time. Quickly, just in conclusion, as I say, my main goal today was just to highlight, as I say, my goal always with these webinars is education and understanding. But again, I just wanted to create that that very basic principles, creating that awareness, the choices you have. It's like, as I said, it's like losing weight. Very simple. It's eat and exercise, 80% eating and 20% exercise. So it's common sense, but as I said, not so common. So again, why am I on this eating plan? Why am I on this exercise plan? Basically, if I don't do anything, I'm going to be fit and unhealthy. And the way I look at it is being fit and healthy, it gives you much better quality of life. It gives me that energy and vitality. I feel good about myself. I can enjoy activities with my children. I can be around for my grandchildren one day. The same thing with your finances. Okay. Being in the situation where I said just now, sleeping well at night because you control. Okay. So that peace of mind, that measure of control, you're on the right path, gives you that confidence, and also just bends the odds in your favor. You've got a higher probability of financial success. Okay, cool. So let me see what kind of questions we have here. There's a question from okay, question from Suzette says, how do I get hold of a financial advisor? On the right slide here, there we go. You can click on here, you'll find a financial advisor close to you. So just make sure I'm in the right place. Here we go. Oops. Yeah, click here to find a financial advisor, Suzette. Okay. Here's a question from Johan. How do I teach my teenage daughter this stuff? Yeah, if only we knew this stuff at school, eh? This is what the stuff they should be teaching our kids at school. So yeah, I would suggest maybe take his presentation and past presentation, maybe review it with her, discuss the notes. Look at the YouTube, let them watch the YouTube channel, and then bring up some questions. What do they like best, and what can they improve on? But also, as I say, you just want to create an awareness for your children. Why is it important to have financial fitness? And obviously, if there's another tool you can use is the internet. Google's your best friend. There's so much information out there. And then books, I mentioned there was J Poor Dad. The follow-up book from that was Cash Flow Quadrant. And there are a lot of other investment books. You can go to Amazon. I use Kindle because I've got no more place for more books now. I use a lot of books on Kindle. One of the other books you can also learn for your kids is a book called Richest Man in Babylon. It's an old little fable story thing, but it's all about savings and the importance of saving. So, Jan, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Cool. What other questions are there? That's it. No questions. Guys, so from my side, well, thank you for being on this webinar. As this is our second last one of the year. But any questions you have, please drop us an email to wealth@psg.co.za. Comes to myself and Aubrey. And you can also contact us on the OneStream line there, 0860 000 368. Okay. So from my side, thank you very much for being on this webinar. I'm sorry we went over time again. But until next month, bye for now, and all the best.